Welcome back to No Bias Hoops. Today we're talking about the first trade of the NBA offseason, which was the Memphis Grizzlies sending Desmond Bane for Cole Anthony, Kentavious Caldwell Pope, and 4 unprotected first-round picks, one of them being the 16th pick in this year's draft. And I'm going to do grades and analysis for this trade. I'll start with Memphis. This is a great trade. Honestly, Desmond Bane is making a ton of money. I believe it's 3 years, $40 million a year. And he has been a very solid young player for them. But I think this was one of the best possible packages they could have got. Kentavious Caldwell Pope, his contract is not great. I think after this year, he has one more year, which is around $30 million, and it's definitely not a great contract. He had a very underwhelming year, but this lets them pivot 2 directions. They can either say, like, Kentavious Caldwell Pope was a vital piece in Denver's championship run, and they can say, we're going to, trade Desmond Bane for picks, but it gives us Kentavious Caldwell Pope, who we like, and then we're just going to retool around Ja and Jaren Jackson Jr., and that would not be a terrible move. But I think the better move is for them to go into a rebuild. The West is great right now. There's going to be a lot of teams getting better. A few teams we thought could start to spiral out have revamped. We thought the Lakers were going to probably fall apart in the next few years, but they got Luka Doncic. And with that, we thought the Mavs were going to fall apart, but then they get Cooper Flagg, and we don't know what Cooper Flagg will be yet. Then you have the Thunder, who, even if they don't win the championship this season, are going to be very good for the next few years. The Spurs, Victor Wembanyama. And then you still have the teams who have been good, like Houston. And then, yes, there are going to be some teams, the Clippers, the Warriors, who over time are going to start to decline. But there's not going to be a huge spot for Memphis to win in the playoffs in the next few years if they do not make a big move. So this move, if they're going to head in a rebuilding direction, is great. 4 first-round picks for Desmond Bane is that's a pretty big package. They also get Cole Anthony. Could be a decent point guard next to Ja Morant. So I honestly give the Memphis Grizzlies an A. I don't think they could have got more for Desmond Bane, and if that's the direction they are deciding to head, it's a great trade. Then you have Orlando, and I made a video a little bit back. I wanted Orlando to trade for De'Aaron Fox. Then I wanted them to trade for Ja Morant, Trae Young. Didn't love Trae Young just because of size, but they needed a true point guard. And I don't think Desmond Bane is that, but he could blossom into that. And a starting lineup of Desmond Bane, Jalen Suggs, Franz Wagner, Paolo Banchero, and then Wendell Carter or Mo Wagner is very good. I think there's one more move to be made to get a better center, but for now, that is a great starting lineup. I just don't love how much they gave up. They are one of the few good teams left with all their picks, and they trade it all for Desmond Bane. Now, they still have 1 unprotected pick, tradable, I believe, and a lot of swaps, so they probably still could go get a very high-caliber center. But for how many players are likely going to be available this offseason, I just don't love giving it all up for Desmond Bane. This trade is either going to go down as a great trade that gave the Magic their missing piece, made them a top 3 team in the East, or it's going to be a trade that didn't do too much. Desmond Bane maybe doesn't make that much of an impact, and they gave up a ton of picks for him. So ultimately, Orlando is young enough that for the years they traded their picks, they're probably going to at least be late lottery picks, so it's not going to be the most valuable picks, and it's not going to be a situation of the Clippers where they traded everything for Paul George, and then they don't have their picks, they don't have a good team, their team's really old. But I only give it a B because they could have probably gotten better. And Desmond Bane has looked like an all-star at times, but at other times he just looks like a high-end role player. And if this team isn't injured, they're going to be a contender to be a top 4 team in the East. Undoubtedly, because I think Cleveland could fall apart. Boston is honestly getting to a point where they're older. Drew Holiday is starting to decline. Kristaps Porzingis has been injured a ton recently. And then you have the big Jason Tatum injury, which could lead to them, probably not this season, but maybe next offseason or at the trade deadline, maybe trade Jason Tatum, or maybe Jaylen Brown wants to be the star on the team and maybe he leaves. So there's going to be a lot going on in the East, and the East is not very good. Like, it's very top heavy. So I do like Orlando trying to take advantage of that and get a good player. But I think there could have been a better trade made. So I'm going to give Orlando a B, but this trade could end up looking like a C, or it could end up looking like an A, depending on how well Desmond Bane plays, how little injuries they have, because Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner looked great last season. Jalen Suggs, before he got injured, was amazing. So if they add Desmond Bane to that, and potentially trade for another center, because like I said, they still have one unprotected pick tradable, they still have pick swaps, they still have guys like Jet Howard who they could trade, and it's going to be interesting to watch Orlando. So I do like this move. I like that they're being aggressive, but I don't know if it was exactly the right trade. It's going to be interesting to see what Orlando does after this, what the Grizzlies do after this, after really deciding that they're going to retool around Ja and Jaren, or they're going to rebuild. And if they were to trade Ja and Jaren, they would get a ton of picks, and they could be a team, they have their own picks. So imagine next year they get AJ Dabansta, like, they could turn around and have a totally different core, but they also could end up like Utah, because Utah had their 3 stars that they traded, and ultimately Utah doesn't have a core right now. So it's a lot to think about. Rebuilding is definitely a commitment. You're basically going to decide that you're going to throw away the next 2 to 3 seasons and hope you get good players in the draft. So I don't love rebuilding, but it's needed at times, and Memphis could be in a situation they don't have the best atmosphere right now, and it might be time to move on from John Morant. So let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time on No Bias News.